And there's no way that you could have ever told me that I would have been on Shark Tank, helped grow my business to $1 million in sales in 1 year, then eventually raise $1 million, marry Prince Charming, have a beautiful son, all by the age of 27, and technically be a millionaire on paper. I would have never believed that. So if you are relentless, you can make anything you want happen. Hey, this is Kim Lewis, CEO and co-founder of Curlmix, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome back to episode 202, and I'm so excited for you all to hear from the CEO and co-founder of Curlmix, Kim Lewis. Kim is going to go into detail about the dream driving journey she's been on since launching her company, how she had to pivot, and why never giving up on herself or her brand was so key during this time. And just this past March 2019, that is, she and her husband appeared on Shark Tank, and guess what? They turned down an offer from the Sharks, and she's going to tell you about why she did it and why there is power in saying no. But what I really love the most about Kim's story is this theme of being relentless and how it has fueled her. I feel like it's a great way for us to enter back into the guest episode world and really start thinking about the ways that we can be relentless in our own journeys and how we can make things happen. It's so important as dream drivers for us to not only dream it, but to do it as well. And thank you to Kim. She's going to be giving every dream driver 20% off their next order if you use the code DREAMSANDDRIVE when checking out. So if you're interested in checking out Curlmix products, just go to curlmix.com. And remember, if you love this episode, please share it with someone. I love it when you guys screenshot and share on social media, text it to your friends, email it to someone. I count on each and every one of you dream drivers to help us spread the community and help us spread the reach. So if you feel like you can inspire or motivate someone, please share this episode. Remember, you can find us at Dreams and Drive. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use the hashtag Dreams and Drive as well. And all show notes are always available at dreamsanddrive.com. All right, let's get into this episode. Hey, Kim, welcome to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I am glad to have you on. So this is actually not our first rodeo talking. I've interviewed you in the past for Exo Nicole, and I actually got to meet you in person this year at Black Women Talk Tech. So that was kind of cool.
Yes. I love that conference, by the way.
So I want to start this interview off a little bit different, Kim. So I want to ask you this question. Describe yourself in one word. If there was one word that you would use to describe who Kim is, Kim's story, what would that be?
Relentless.
So relentless. Wow, that's such a powerful word. Why relentless?
I feel like when you are relentless, you can will yourself to success. That means that nobody's no stops you, that no one else not doing it before keeps you from doing it, that you are relentless in determining the life that you want to have for yourself. And I say that because nothing that I have is something that anyone would have predicted that I would have 10, 20 years ago. Like, yeah, I was a good student, but I mean, where I come from, I basically lived in a room with like my mom, my sister, my little brother, pretty much through all of my upbringing, and in my grandmother's house. Like, there were holes in the floor. Like, we really just didn't have much of, we had each other, we had love, and we had a home, but like, we just didn't, the heat would be off sometimes. Like, and there's no way that you could have ever told me that I would have been on Shark Tank, helped grow my business to $1 million in sales in 1 year, then eventually raise $1 million from the CEO of LinkedIn and other partners, marry Prince Charming, have a beautiful son, all by the age of 27, and technically be a millionaire on paper. Like, I would have never believed that. So I think if you are relentless, you can make anything you want happen.
Do you feel like you were always relentless?
Yes. If I look back to high school, I was doing the most, right? So I take the bus to school, right? So I think that's a thing. Like, now my siblings, like, they refuse to take the bus. And I'm like, what? Who do y'all think y'all are? Like, that y'all are too good for the bus. Like, I took a bus every day in high school, 6 a.m., getting up to go to school. Even before that, there was a special program in my high school. All the high schools in my area were really bad. Like,
wait, where did you grow up? Just so that we can get a positioning for people who might not know.
Oh, I grew up in Chicago on the South Side,
Okay.
so with near Michelle Obama. So I went to one of those like Chicago public schools, and Chance's always donating to them because they kind of are struggling. And so in grammar school, my teachers were like, "She's too smart to go to the high school in the neighborhood. Like, you guys need to find something else." And so my mom, she's always like been focused on working and stuff and supporting her 5 kids. So I took it upon myself as a 6th grader or whatever, looking at different high schools in the area and see what programs there were and then applying to them. And so when I got into Morgan Park's like IB program, which is like an accelerated program or whatever, I told her, "Okay, Mom, this is my interview. I need a suit. Can we go shopping here?" Like I became very independent, very, very young. Even in like kindergarten, I was like, "Mom, I want to go to this magnet school." She's like, "What is a magnet school?" I was like, I had to be like 7, even to even know about those things. And then try to convince my mom to put me in them, to me is like an example of being relentless really early on. And so then I've been like that throughout high school. So in high school, I would go to school till 2:30 or whatever. And then I would be at school for like after school tutoring, or I would go to band practice or basketball practice. Like I did 2 to 3 sports all throughout high school. And then in college, I worked about 3 different jobs outside of school. So I was so jealous of my friends who had an allowance. They're like, "Oh, my parents send me like $200 every week." I was like, "What?
Wait, 200? What? Yeah, I would be jealous too. Like, that's a lot.
I'm sending my family money. What you mean? Like, oh my goodness." So I worked, and then in college, I worked as an RA, like somewhat of a TA for freshmen in business. And I worked at the art center working as a stage manager and backstage for the plays and stuff that would be put on. And then I worked as a tutor or study hall person for the athletes to make sure they were doing their homework, right? Like, "Oh, get off your phones." Like I was a little like that kind of person. And I did something else. Oh, I worked at the front desk for like the dorms and stuff. So
you were definitely a hustler.
Girl, you did.
Hustle.
I was relentless. So even before I started entrepreneurship, I've just always been a hard worker.
Did you ever have like a dream for what your life would be? Like, did you ever have your sights set on being an entrepreneur one day?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I say yes because I created these things called Kimmy clips back in high school. So basically one day I ran out of earrings, and my teacher had these like colorful paper clips on her desk. So I made myself a pair of earrings with her paper clips, and they were so cute. Oh my gosh, I loved them. And then everybody started asking me where I get them from, and they wanted me to like make them some and stuff too. But I didn't go any further with that because I think I let somebody like kind of deter me. They were like, "Oh, that's dumb. Like you shouldn't do that because other people can copy you. It's just paper clips." And they were older, of course, and they were like over 40 something years old. And I was like, "Oh, okay, well maybe they're right. Maybe I should just focus on school." So I didn't sell them. But looking back, I was like, I should have tried to do that. So I kind of like was interested in entrepreneurship, but no one around me had done it before. And the first time I tried it, I was kind of discouraged. So I just focused back on my books. And that's when I said like, no, I would have never envisioned that we would have a business like the one that we have at this place in time, because I was so focused on getting a job in business, right? Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I was like, "Oh, I want to go into marketing." And then when I got to college and I was in marketing, I realized all the Black girls in the College of Business did marketing. And I was like, dang it. Like if I wanted to get a job out of school, because I'm paying for this, right? It's practical. I need to be able to get a job. I need to do something different to set myself apart. I was like, okay, what other majors am I interested in, that are maybe more technical or have some of those harder skills? And so I was like, oh, okay, there's finance. No. I went to the number 2 school in the country for accounting. I was like, oh, I hate this stuff. No. And then I found out about logistics and supply chain management. And it's basically managing the end-to-end process from a product being made to getting it to the customer. And it's, it's really not sexy, but it was like, oh, this is interesting to me. I would like to do this. So I double majored in that. And then when it came time for me to graduate, all of my job offers were in supply chain management, every last one of them. And those were the ones that were paying more too. And so I just thought I was going to be like the perfect corporate worker bee. That was my plan. That's what they kind of prep you for in college there. But I had one class where my teacher, his name was Paul Magelli. I was like, oh, so Magelli, do you have, like, he was an entrepreneur. I knew he was well off. He was a millionaire. And I was like, oh, do you have like a PhD or something? Like, what'd you study? He was like, oh, no, I'm a visiting professor. I was like, hold up.
Wait, what's that?
I was like, oh, you were just a successful entrepreneur that got to come and teach, but you didn't have to go through any of these certifications or years in training or PhDs that some of these other, professors have. was like, oh, good to know. Good to know. So I made a mental note of that, right? And then he taught a class of entrepreneurship. And so I went to his class, and it was really just kind of like my first little like introductory to it. But I still didn't have any plans to be an entrepreneur. I just figured, oh, if I want to be rich one day, like I may have to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know how I'll get there, whatever. And so then I just kind of, went through the motions, got my internship, got my first job, hated it. But my last semester, my teacher recommended that we build an app in my tech class. And so we started doing that. And then after college, I continued to pursue it. And it was a social network for natural hair, but it didn't make any money. So it was a bad business model. But I learned so much along the way, like just as far as graphic design, web design, photography, so much. And so it was really like my platform that kind of helped me blossom Curlmix. And it wasn't until after college that I realized, okay, I really have a passion for entrepreneurship, because if I go into corporate, which I did, and I hated it mainly because of like the social issues. People were just really ignorant. My manager would put me down a lot. I was the only Black girl all the time. It became more of a mental stress than it was about performing at work.
Yeah, I don't feel like everybody's spirit is meant for corporate. Like, I feel like there are some people who do really well, but when you find out it's not for you, you kind of got to listen to that, It's an evolution to find out it's not for you, but I definitely feel like what you're doing now is for you.
Right. And again, it's not even so much, it was like, oh, working for someone else, right? Yeah. It was more so like the environment. The environment just didn't allow me to thrive.
Yeah.
I knew that there was a ceiling also on how much money I could make. And so I was like, okay, well, the only way not to have that ceiling is if I build the house, I was like, okay, well, we need to run our own business. And keep in mind, I've been with my husband since we were in high school, since we were like 16.
Okay.
So when we left college, he was like, okay, I'll work. Well, I worked at first and he didn't. And then after that year or so running the business and stuff, I was like, okay, I'll go full-time entrepreneurship and you work, because we realized he's not much of an entrepreneur, but he can get things done. I'm just more of an entrepreneur in the relationship. Okay. And so I just focused on building our business for the next several years after that.
So let's talk about Curlmix a little bit. Like, where was this idea? Well, let's talk about Curlmix part 1, right? Because we're going to talk about a pivot in your story along the way. But Curlmix part 1 or 1.0, is that how you would say it? Like the first iteration, right?
Yes.
Where did you guys, where the idea for sending out DIY natural hair ingredient to customers for them to build their own products? Like, where did that idea come from?
So I used to make products myself. Like, if you're natural and you went natural during the YouTube craze, you probably made something you saw being made on YouTube. So I used to do this all the time, and I would go to Whole Foods and spend hundreds of dollars on like my fun projects for my hair, and I loved it. But then I was like, okay, would somebody send this to me in a box, so I could save myself some time, and I would know the recipe's gonna work out before I try it, and it's a complete fail. One time we were watching Shark Tank, and I saw this lady basically do that with organic cookies. And I was like, oh my gosh, is anybody doing this for hair? This would be so cool. And then I was like, wait a minute. This is 2015. There are already a million subscription boxes out there. There's a reason why this doesn't exist. And then Tim was like, no, Kim, you got to try it. I'm like, no, Tim, this sucks. No one wants this. He's like, no, just give it a shot. And so I launched it, and I only sold one box to my cousin. And she doesn't even have kinky hair like me, which is hilarious. She's Latina with wavy hair. So she was just supporting me. And I was like, okay, see, Tim, I told you this was crap. We shouldn't do it. And he's like, no, Kim, you just launched wrong. Launches are not things where it's oh, I just posted it, I had all this traffic. He's like, great launches are engineered. So then he started telling me about the resources that he knew about that we had just never discussed, like BuzzSumo, where you can go and find the top articles in your industry or whatever that have been posted in the last 6 months or a year or whatever parameter you put on it. And then I reached out to those writers of those articles and then started pitching them Curlmix. And I ended up getting Refinery 29 to cover the launch. And so everybody who had told me no, I went back and repitched them. And then when we launched in September 2015, we sold 100 boxes on the first day. So it was a big deal.
Wow. So what was the audience, what was your customer response to this product over time? Because I know there was an initial response to them. What ended up happening after a year or so went by?
So we never spent money on Facebook ads for these 2 years. But the first year we were growing. But the most we ever did was about $17,000 in revenue. And so the second
total or per month?
Per month. And so, I mean, the total was like 130,000 the first year and 140,000 the second year. But in the second year, I saw like our users decline, and I saw that some of our best customers were unsubscribing. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, basically, they just couldn't get to it. Like they didn't have enough time. And then I realized that it was just novelty and not necessity. So it was fun to do, but it wasn't something that they needed. Like when they would go to the store and they would shop for their hair products, they would grab things they absolutely needed to look good walking out the house. And Curlmix was more fun, discovery, something to do with my kid type of thing. And my margins were about 30%, whereas other hair care companies were like 80%, 90% margins before they go into retail.
Wow. Can you explain what the margins are just for people who might not know?
Yeah, after all their cost of goods sold and all the expenses, this is how much you profit you're making on that bottle. Not necessarily profit, but this is how much money you're making on that bottle.
Okay.
So say, for example, if a product is $20 and you have 90% margins, that means it only costs you $4 to make. And you're making $16, I think, on every bottle. If I did that math right. Isn't it 90% margin?
90 for $20.
$90.
I think that's like
80. Yeah. So if you have 80% margins, then it costs you $4 to make. And you can sell it for 20 and you'll get 16 back. Most companies are selling their products at, 80, 90% margins, sometimes 70%. But my boxes were 30%. So that means for every $16 another company was getting for their bottle, I was getting like, what's 30% of 20? $6, right? So I was like, okay, there's no way I can compete with this. Plus, putting together boxes, individual ingredients takes like 15 different touches because you got to get the bag for each one, and then label each bag, then put the stuff in each bag, and then package bags into the box, and then get an info. It was insane. I was like, so this isn't going to work. So what can we do? So I started looking at what our customers are buying the most of, and my advisor was like, what's your favorite box? What's your most popular box? And I was like, well, it's our flaxseed gel, but we've tried to make it before. We had all these issues. It was so hard. Like and no manufacturer will make it for us. We just, we can't do it. And he was like, figure it out. And I was like, what? He was like, yes, figure it out. You never stop selling your best-selling product. So I spent like a month in my kitchen making 50 different batches of flaxseed gel. I was like 7 months pregnant. And this is September 2017. And so I finally come up with a batch that I like. And mind you, like while I'm testing these batches, people are just raving about my hair in the streets when I see them. Like they stop me, oh my gosh, your hair is so beautiful. Can I touch it? Like Black people too. So I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, we might be onto something. So we launched the the flaxseed gel to our audience. Now, mind you, we didn't make a big batch yet because we knew about launching things and people not wanting it before. So we're not going to make that mistake again. So we just pre-launched it. And we sold hundreds in a matter of hours. We were like, we've never done anything this successfully before. So we knew like, okay, this is it. And so I launched it the next day. And again, we sold another 100 in a matter of hours. I was like, oh my goodness, Tim. Like, these are the number of orders we would do in a month. We just did it in like 2 days. And so we were like, we should pivot the business. We should stop doing everything that we're doing. And we have like 6 months of content lined up for the future boxes. But we should just cut it off because this is what people want. The people have spoken. And because basically you couldn't get flaxseed gel, like the real flaxseed gel, in stores because manufacturers won't make it. It's too volatile. It's messy. It's hard to do at scale. So we knew the challenge was going to be coming up with a way to do flaxseed gel at scale. And so we pivoted at the top of January 2018, and I was freaking out because it was our lowest month in sales ever. We did like $3,000 that month. But as the month
during the transition period?
Yes.
Okay.
So we had stopped selling the boxes. We were focused on selling the gel. We weren't spending any money on Facebook ads yet. And that first month, January, we did $3,000 in sales. The month after, we did $8,000 in sales. And I was ecstatic. I was like, okay, we doubled last month. If we could just double again in March, we would be killing it. We ended up doing about $30,000 in sales. And now I'm like, oh my gosh.
You went from 3,000 to 30,000 in just
3 months.
Wow.
And we hadn't spent any money on ads. So I was like, oh crap. Like this is it. Like this is
how? Like what were people like, what do you think was changing from January to March?
So one, we expanded our product line.
Okay.
2, we started working with micro influencers and revenue sharing with them. So they would make about 15% of any sale they brought in.
That's like affiliate market. Is that when they use the code and stuff? And then
yeah, they got the code. They got their own codes. And then and basically some of our best influencers that we started working with in March have been some of the best influencers. I feel like we got lucky with the kind of influencers that we ended up working with, but they brought in thousands of dollars of sales, like individually with among those 3 to 4 influencers.
You know who you work with, who's actually a guest on the show? Actually, I don't know if she's an official partner, but I've definitely seen her doing ads on her page and stuff, or showing your product. Naturally Philo, you know Philomena Kane.
Oh, yes. I know. Yeah.
She's a Princeton alum, and she also was like a early guest on the show. I want to say like episode 40 or something, when she was just beginning. So it was just so fun to see her journey and to just see how she's growing as well.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. And yeah, she's definitely done some tutorials for us, which we love.
Like, what else do you think was really important that what you were learning during this transition period that you think other entrepreneurs who are making pivots really need to understand? You talked about figuring out what people really want and then targeting them, but were there other things that were also important?
Yeah, so I went to TSP at the time. It's called Traffic, Sales, and Profit. It's a Facebook group with a ton of other dope entrepreneurs, particularly for Black people. Lamar Tyler is the leader of the group, and he had a conference, and I went to his conference that January. And it's so funny. My baby was 6 weeks old, sorry. And I took Tim. Tim stayed in the hotel room with the baby the whole time. And basically Lamar said something, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's a genius. But basically it was like, it's easier to sell old customers new things than new customers anything. And so I was like, okay, I only have this gel, but they told me they like this moisturizer and this serum that we had in our boxes as well. Maybe I should make those. And then when we asked them, they were like, yep, we want that. So our line is kind of non-traditional because we started last year, all we sold was gel, moisturizer, our serum, and our body butter. Those things do not go together. They're not like a system or anything like what we have now. So yeah, that was another piece too.
What about finances? Because I feel like that's a big talk. That's a big thing with any entrepreneur. Like, how are you guys getting the capital to continue to invest in the business? And then how are you just managing to balance and figure out the financial side of running Curlmix?
So Curlmix, at this point, me and Tim had racked up a lot of credit card debt because Curlmix wasn't successful. Our other businesses weren't successful up until this point. So even now we had landed on some success, but we didn't have a whole lot of capital to do things. So we were doing stuff real bootstrap, this is all we got. Okay. We ended up getting an investment from Backstage Capital for $25,000. And so that was February 28th, 2018. So it was enough money to help us rebrand. When I say rebrand, I mean we had to get new boxes that fit the current products, because the boxes we had before were the do-it-yourself box, and they had the wrong kind of inscription on it, which would confuse people. So we had to change that. We also had to move into a manufacturing facility shortly after March. It was early May, but they needed a first and last month's rent.
Where were you doing it from before?
My house.
Oh, wow. You were fulfilling all those orders from your house?
Girl, and I had a 2-month-old. I was crazy. It was not my baby learned to walk around the Curlmix bottle box. It was crazy. My whole basement was stacked with boxes and pails of oil and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And I was like to him, I'm losing my mind. We have to get out of here. And in March is when he also quit his job. But I'll go back. So Backstage gave us the $25,000 investment, and I was ecstatic. I had never seen more than $5,000 or $10,000 in my business account. So seeing the $28,000 once they had given it the $25,000 to me, I called my best friend and I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, Mariah, I have $28,000 in my bank account for my business. I'm ecstatic. And she was just like, oh my gosh, congrats, Kimmy. She was so excited for me. And I say that because when I got the investment for $1 million this year, I called her again, oh my gosh, Mariah, I have $1 million in my bank account. It was just very funny, very, 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 very funny, and almost exactly a year apart. So it's true when they say your life could just change completely in a year. Just give it the time. But back on the financial piece, and so basically, I was running Curlmix based on what we were making, and I wasn't using any other credit card debt outside of that. I may have applied from some small credit cards on behalf of Curlmix, but again, they wouldn't have been any more than $3,000 to $5,000 max because the credit wasn't the best So the banks wouldn't give me more. So the Arlen investment really helped. And then we started investing in Facebook ads right around April of last year. And that really helped kind of launch the business and grow it significantly, which gave us more cash flow. And then eventually, when you start making certain amounts of dollars, Shopify has like loans that you can get. PayPal has loans you can get. And so we used to take those. We don't take them anymore because they're not all paid off. But they helped us float through things like the holiday season where you need to stack up on a bunch of inventory before you start doing all these sales and stuff.
So you mentioned Facebook ads a lot of times during this conversation so far. Why were Facebook ads so important? And like, why do you think, especially online entrepreneurs, e-commerce entrepreneurs, should be using Facebook ads as part of their strategy? Or should they? I don't want to assume.
So there's two ways to get traffic, right? You either have an audience and it's big and it's driving traffic for free or whatever. And it's not free because if you have an audience, it costs some time or whatever to put it in. Or you're paying for that traffic. That's pretty much the only two ways you can get it. And we decided we were going to be an e-commerce business. So, but you know, what they don't tell you though, is even in retail, if you get into like a Walmart's going to require a certain amount of paid spend on ads to get people into their store from you. So that's, keep in mind. But paid ads is a part of the equation no matter what. So if you want to scale your business, if you want it to be, 20, 50, 100 million, 20 million, $200 million business, pay ads is going to be a part of the equation. It's not the only part of the equation, but it's an important part. So we spend about 30% of our spend on ads on a monthly basis, but there's another piece, right? So like there's email, there's some organic stuff, but organic is so like, that's not like the big businesses I know. And I say big, like doing more than 10, 20 mil, like they're not relying on organic traffic. And that was something I didn't know. So when I was trying to figure out Curlmix with the boxes, I didn't know that there was a certain paid part of the equation. So I paid an agency to manage a lot of our social, well, not to manage it, but to like manage our social media ad spend. And our team actually manages it. But that was something I didn't know. And so I was like, how are businesses like Glossier doing a couple $100 million a year or $100 million a year, however much they're doing? It's like 100 million, I think. How are they doing that? And then you learn that they're spending 30 million a year on ads. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Like I can see how you could spend 30 to make 100, Yeah,
it takes money to make money, right? And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting out and you may not have a big budget and you may not have a lot of like capital to invest, like it's scary to take that risk on ads because that's what they are sometimes, a risk, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had an ad that like you lost a lot of money on?
Oh, I'm sure. But here's the thing about ads. The goal is to get that customer first. Because if you get that customer first, you can sell to them again and again. Okay. If you don't get them first and someone else gets them, you have to try to poach the customer, right? It's going to be harder to do. And at the very least, if you get the customer first and maybe they didn't like your product, you can figure out what kind of product they do like so you can sell them in the future. So it's like data, right? That's something that a lot of brands who go into stores don't have. If you go into like Marshall's or whatever, they don't know who's buying their product. They don't know if it's Sue or if it's Asha or if it's Carolyn. Like they have no clue. That's one of the reasons that having an e-commerce business is so valuable because I know my customer's IP address, their home address, their phone numbers, their friends. I have a lot. I'm like Facebook. I have a lot of data. That's the biggest benefit to being online.
And you use it, right? Because a lot of people are collecting data, they're not using it.
Oh, yeah. So you use it not by selling it to people, right?
Yeah.
So just for clarification, not like selling your information. But when you connect to your different platforms, right, I have on my email system, I can track my users' activity, whether or not they visited my site in the last 30 days, whether they opened this email, but not this email, what they clicked on in that email, along with all of their information. And if they took one of our quizzes or like it literally just it houses all the data for all my customers. And I can use that to make decisions or to retarget them.
All right. So let's talk about March 3rd, 2019. Tell me what happened, Kim.
Oh my gosh. Where do you want me to start? Like I woke up.
Start on how you were able to keep it a secret. Like the how did it even come about?
Well, look, in your lawyer briefing, they like, if you tell anybody, we're going to sue you. We love that. Secret it is. No, I'm kidding. No, so, oh my gosh, you just never know who works for Sony, right? Because one time we were on our live and we were telling people like to go watch Shark Tank because we're coming up. And they're like, oh, did you guys make a deal? I was like, oh, we can't tell you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm glad you guys didn't tell us you not work for Sony. I was like, girl,
wow,
what?
She was trying to trap you.
I know. But what was I going to say? So keeping it a secret wasn't as hard, but getting ready for Shark Tank, oh my gosh, that's the part that everyone underestimates. Like, they're like, oh, are you having a party? And it's like, girl, I'm about to have hundreds of thousands of people on my website. I need to focus on that piece, because I'm going to have all this traffic. If I don't get the data that I need, I can't retarget these people. And that's going to be the best part, because I'm going to be able to do it so cheaply, right? Mm-hmm. Basically, you know about 3 weeks before that you're going to be on the show, right? Sometimes they let you know days before. Sometimes you get to know 2 weeks before, but the most ever is 4 weeks. So we got a 3-week notice, right? So that's not a lot of time. Just keep in mind, people have done anywhere from $15,000 in sales from Shark Tank to $1 million in sales from Shark Tank. So I was like, okay, I have no real good estimation of how much we're going to make, but I still got to prepare for the inventory for that, right?
Meaning that you have 3 weeks to know that you're like, did you already tape it and they let you know when it's going to air?
Yes. So you tape it back in September.
Okay.
But they tell you, like, even when you tape it, you don't know if it's going to appear or not. Like, you just don't know. Because there are people who do tape episodes and they don't show up.
Okay.
And mind you, we filmed in September. And so, at the top of the year, I was like, okay, maybe they're going to tell us, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. But we finally got the call in like February. So I was like, okay, you got 3 weeks. Now, 3 weeks, right? The prior month, we had done about $300,000 in sales. It was already hard scaling up to that. But now I need to be able to stockpile inventory. It's like, but I don't have any access to capital for this, right? I've been utilizing my little loans from Shopify and PayPal. I have maybe $20K on each of those different accounts. And they won't give me, even though I paid off 80% of that loan, they won't give me a new one until that one's completely paid off. So I would basically need like $50,000 to pay off all my debts in order to get more capital from the banks. So I couldn't do that, right? I was like, oh crap. Like, what am I going to do? I reached out to Arlen from Backstage Capital. And so she was like, I can put you in touch with people who have some high net worth, but they're going to want an investment. They're not going to like just give you the loan, but it'll be like a convertible note or to be something small. So I was like, okay. So I ended up doing a deal. So I basically was like a crazy person on the phone for like a week, talking to loan sharks, talking to investors, just trying to make a deal and trying to figure out what's the smartest deal to make. Because I could have made some deals that weren't the best offers. Like one of the loan shark offers is like, okay, we can give you $200,000, but you got to pay that back plus like $75,000 within like a couple months or something. Or like it was kind of like crazy how fast I would have to pay it back. But what I ended up doing was I ended up getting an investment from these two guys. One of them is the CEO of LinkedIn for like $200,000 together. They went in together and it was just a convertible note, which means I don't have to pay it back, but it wasn't like a price round. I'm getting too deep into that.
Yeah, I'm like,
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So you got the money.
Got the money, right? And that took a week, right? So now we got 2 weeks. So it was okay, now we got to order everything. Let's start ordering all materials, and it's going to take some time for it to get in. My team was working overtime, we were pre-packing stuff. And then people are like, oh, well, what about a party? I was like, are you kidding me? A party? Like, I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'll throw a party. I was so like, I'm glad we celebrated. I am. But it's such like the last thing you think about when you're trying to prepare your site for this kind of stuff. All the while, the site's being redone. We have our quizzes and everything we need to line up. Our marketing materials getting prepared, our designs. It's just literally, it was like the biggest project ever.
So you basically didn't sleep for like 3 weeks then?
Oh, yes. Nobody slept. The team was coming in on the weekends. It was crazy. And then the morning of the show airing, I like woke up and I like was crying. And my husband was like, Kim, why are you crying? I was like, Tim, I'm so scared. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, we're planning such a big public event around something. We have no idea how they're going to cut it and no idea how it's going to like appear on television. Like, what they make us look like fools, you know? And him like, we know how it went, but that doesn't mean that other people are going to see that. And he was like, Kim, it's okay. Like, you know, there's nothing you can do about it now. Don't stress. Like, we'll be fine. We did great, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, you know, it doesn't serve anybody to be sitting here crying. let me just get up, dust myself off, and get ready for the day. And it literally ended up being like the best possible outcome. Oh my gosh. They like made us look like rock stars, didn't negatively edit anything. I was so happy with the result. And then the actual party felt like our wedding all over again. People in rows. We had hundreds of people at that party. And I literally planned it in a week and a half. Like literally open up the Eventbrite a week and a half before.
Relentless. That's that relentlessness coming in, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I also hired a PR agent. There was a lot of stuff that I was doing in those short 3 weeks. Like, man.
So why did you say no, right? Because, I mean, I watched the clip and I feel like it's apparent when you watch it why you said no. But in that moment, like, what was the thinking behind saying no? Did you always know you were going to say no?
Oh, absolutely not. So like we would have done a deal, right? We were like, oh, we knew Allie Webb was going to be on the show. We knew Lori was going to be there. And we really wanted them to make an offer. But I found out later that it's kind of a conflict of interest for Allie to even make an offer as a CEO of Dry Bar. Like we're technically a competitor. And so I feel like she kind of got a bad rap because people are like, oh, she's clueless, but she couldn't, in her contract. I don't know if the show knew that, but I learned that later. But we knew we were going in lower than the value that we were already worth, like literally like half as much. Like we were worth like $7 million at the time. We went in with like a $4 million offer. Robert dropped it down to a $2 million valuation. We were like, what? Like you don't know anything about the space. And so 15% was our max. Like we wouldn't go anything above 15%. And so when we offered 10% and he tried to double it at 20%, we were like, nah, nope. It was an easy no. It was a very easy no. It was like, he wouldn't even budge. So, and like $400,000 seems like a lot of money, and it is. But at that point, we were making $100,000 a month, and we were on track to hit $1 million by the end of the year. So we were going to be doing $200,000 a month by December, and unbeknownst to us, now we're doing over $500,000 a month. And so $400,000, it would be spent so fast, on inventory and materials that like I could have just.
Because that was September of 2018 that you were even doing this.
Right.
Okay.
In September 2018, we did like 120 something that month, and then this month or last month we did over 600,000. But the month of Shark Tank, we did like 900,000. So we had almost $1 million in 1 month.
Wow. Wow. So why do you think it's so important to know your worth and to know when to say no? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest lessons. When I see that, it's like, wow, like they could have easily just said, hey, we'll take the deal. But you guys went in there with the research, the prep, knowing, I guess you probably had different situations or scenarios that you kind of mapped out beforehand or you knew how to respond to. But like, why do you think entrepreneurs need to know their worth and know when to say no? Or even creatives, anyone, really.
So they need to know what they can live with. Me and Tim stayed up all night agonizing over this, right? Because we were preparing for the show, which that could be a whole other podcast on how to prepare for a Shark Tank. But we were preparing for the show, and we were like, okay, what won't we accept? They call it a BATNA. It's BATNA, better alternative to negotiating an agreement. Basically, it's like, what are you going to walk away with? Like, I'm absolutely not doing this. And we felt like, and we had done a deal with the shark who we never heard from, who owned 20% of our company. And we knew we were going to grow Curlmix to $1 billion company. And they only had to just make a yes or no decision on Shark Tank. Oh no, like that just is not fair. You haven't earned, anything out of all the work that we've put in over the years and the sacrifice that we've made to our credit, to our finances or whatever to grow this business. And so it was okay, well, what can we be more comfortable with? And we really weren't even comfortable with 15%, but we were like, we have to have some negotiating room. Mm-hmm. And we didn't seem like people were just going on the show just for the press, because that wasn't entirely the case. We really wanted the expertise and the assistance. But then Robert said he wasn't going to give us any expertise and assistance, and he was only going to write a check at a valuation we didn't like. Was like, okay, this is not what we want at all. So I think it's important to know what you're willing to walk away from. And because I didn't want to agonize over it and make a decision that I was going to hate for the next few years of my life, that I was going to regret. That's what I was afraid of.
So what was the response like? I know you said you did over like 900,000 in sales that month, but like, was there other unexpected gems or unexpected circumstances that came from, or results that came from being on the show?
So after we were on the show and we did really well, the CEO of LinkedIn followed back up with us. It was like, hey, are you raising money? We're like, no, we're not. He was like, well, I would like to make an offer. Me and my partner, we want to go in for $1 million. Like, would you be open to that? Yeah. And so I was like, and I almost said no. I almost said no, but then I was like, Kim, you're at a point where, it's not about money now. It's about partnerships and connections. And he has connections and partnerships too.
That's Reid Hoffman, right? He's a CEO. Reid Hoffman, is that his name? Reid Hoffman?
No, he was a founder.
Okay.
There is a CEO of LinkedIn.
Okay.
And he's just made connections for us that I could have never in my, wildest dreams imagined we would have so quickly. Like, not Beyonce, but like think that level, like that kind of crazy stuff. So I was just like, oh my gosh, and so that's worth more than the money that he's invested. And now we're just trying to figure out how to grow, how do we want to spend that money on our growth and what are we going to make our next steps to be? So like, that's something that kind of happened after the success of Shark Tank. But again, like we made $900,000, but we spent like $250,000 on ads that month too. So like, keep in mind, a paid piece is like a huge part of doing well in an e-commerce business.
What are the challenges you're facing now? Like even after, getting such this amazing opportunity with Shark Tank, getting this funding round, like what are some things that you guys are like struggling or not struggling with, but challenges you're working through?
Oh my gosh, hiring. My job went from, well, in the beginning, I was like, when we first started, I was doing customer service and shipping and making products. Then the next level of after that was like, okay, focusing on the marketing, getting the sales going. And then after we hired for that, it was like, okay, now I'm not doing marketing, customer service, or any of like the shipping and development. Now I have to hire people to kind of sustain this growth. And so now my main job is HR and communicating with my managers. Mm-hmm. And that has been a new level of learning, posting jobs, interviewing people, figuring out who's going to make a great candidate and who isn't, having to fire people. I had to fire somebody this morning. And, so we went from and just keep perspective, right? So like in November, we had maybe 6 people on the team and they weren't full-time employees. They were like contractors. They worked maybe 30 to 40 hours a week, but they weren't employees. So everyone transitioned to employees in February. And so in 6 months, we went from maybe a team of 7 to a team of 20.
Wow.
And it's my job to manage those people. So yeah, that's been the hardest thing.
How do you make sure that you're building a company that you can trust your team with your baby? Because you have a son, but you also like Curlmix is your baby too. So how do you because I feel like that's a hard shift in any entrepreneur's life. Like when you go from doing it alone to then building the team. So how do you make sure that you can trust the team with the baby?
I was not going to be the person that was like, I have to do it all myself. Mm-hmm. I can't let anybody. I'm so good at this. I started hiring people who were better than me. If we were in an interview, if we were talking about a function of the job or a platform, and you mentioned to me a feature I didn't know about, or a campaign that maybe you ran that I have never run before, or I'll give you an example. My marketing manager, we were talking about a rewards platform, and she was talking about doing a campaign for double the rewards point and how those do really well because you're not basically giving out a discount, but you're still giving the customer something to offer. You're offering them something. I was like, oh, that's really clever. Like, why didn't I think of that? Or basically I'm getting ideas in our meeting. And I was like, oh, you know more than me, and that has been my biggest key for hiring people. If you don't know more than me about a certain topic, then I probably won't hire you because you can't really add to the team, right? I'm going to spend more time teaching you than you can spend teaching me. So that's been huge in hiring so fast. And then I'm especially keen on that in hiring managers because they're going to teach other people. So I have to make sure that they have the skills.
So I really want to quickly touch on the personal side of entrepreneurship. And I'm taking this from an article that I wrote about you for Exo Nicole. And you said this, that I feel like it was just like a girl, this could be a whole thesis within itself. You said, I picked my husband as a partner because he's brilliant, not because I love him, right? It matters because it means he can give me solid advice, period. Why or how has Tim been pivotal to the growth of Curlmix? And what do you have to say about when it comes to working with your partner in the business?
Tim does not get enough shine. And I feel bad because I'm always out here doing interviews in the face, but he is holding it down. He goes into the office every day. I don't. I work from home with the baby sometimes, but even if I'm not with the baby, today, Tim took the baby because he knew I had an interview to the office with him, but he's at the office. He manages about 10 to 15 people. So he almost runs a separate business than me. And so their job at the office, make sure they make the product, following our compliance laws and manufacturing laws, fulfill and label the product. So managing all the inventory, ordering all the materials, talking to, 3 to 4 different vendors and a number of different suppliers. And then finally shipping the product. So, managing our shipping department and our shipping team, making sure we're meeting our SLAs and getting our orders out on time. And, keep in mind, we send out several hundred orders a day, 300 to 400 orders, whatever. And so on each department, Timothy has 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 people to manage at least, right? More than that. I'm sorry, about 5 people per department at least. I literally don't have to think about that, right? That he's managing all that. I'm gonna have to step in sometimes and like, oh, Tim, this isn't right, or come in for like just kind of controls and management. But he's doing all of that. And the fact that I have trust for him because he's like my partner. But Tim is like brilliant. I'll give you an example. He won $100,000 with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? He reads a lot. He's a people person. People love him. They think, Tim's the kind of guy who will clean off your car during the wintertime if it like snowed or something. You not know it was him. He's done it for our cousins before, after like parties with families and stuff. He just goes hard for the business. And of course he drops the ball in different places, but like having him as a partner has allowed me to flourish and focus on growth. Because you can't focus on growth if your house is not clean. If your house is not clean, you got to clean your house first and then try to grow, especially going this fast, right? Like that's the hardest thing. So he's been phenomenal in this whole process. And there's no way we would have grown as fast as we did without him quitting his job and working for Curlmix pretty much for free.
How has Youre changed your life? That's your son. Like, I feel like, especially it's funny because I was having this conversation with like a friend and we were talking about how like, I think we're the same age. Are you 27 or 28?
I'm 27.
Okay. So I'm 27 as well. And I feel like motherhood is something that when it comes to being an entrepreneur, it's either like people are like, oh, wait until later, build the business first, right? So technically you would be like a young mother when it comes to being an entrepreneur, but like, how do you feel like motherhood has impacted the way you approach entrepreneurship?
He has made me do more with less. So I wake up at 6 a.m. now and I'll work until noon, and noon is about when he wakes up. So that's why I'm like, okay, I got to get as much as I can get done in these 6 hours. Otherwise, it's not happening like during the day for the most part. He fills up. My days go so much faster now because he has so much more in them. So me and my husband were like, oh my gosh, Kim, like the year is halfway over. We were like, how did that happen? Like we were going to be in Christmas season again in a few months. And it was like, oh my gosh, between like our marriage and our business and our baby, there seems like there's never enough time. It's just never enough time. And let's not even mention travel, right? Because that used to be a huge goal of ours, and it still is. But it's just like it's just on the back burner. It's just no way. So he's just made me do more with less, and I really credit our pivot to him because I didn't have time for him, and I didn't have time to just let me just see where this goes. I had to be very strategic about what we were building and how we were going to build it.
Well, I just really, like, you're so inspiring to me, like, looking in from you, like, from social media world, right? Because I'm like, wow, they're really doing it. And it's also showing that you could be a mom and you could still be a boss. You could still accomplish your goals. Because I just feel like sometimes when it comes, maybe this is just the rhetoric that I hear sometimes, like, I don't feel like children have to be a burden, right? But there's this rhetoric, especially as a Black woman, like, oh, get your business, get this done first. But then you're like 45 and it's like, wait. Like, when am I going to build the life that I really want? So I just love that you're able to have your family and your business as well. So as we wind down, Kim, this is a question that I feel like a lot of people always have when it comes to putting their dreams in drive. The biggest thing, like I did a customer survey, or not a customer, listener survey. And what do you think the number one biggest personal challenge is that most people say they face?
You mean like with their business? Like,
or just personal challenge, like just a personal challenge they face in life when it comes to building their business. I just want to see if what do you think would be the number one?
Oh, I think they might say self-discipline. I think they might say time, but time is like put in an excuse, Yeah. The real issue is like self-discipline if you say time. So that's my guess.
Well, for this segment, this audience, people who filled out the survey, they said fear and doubt. That was like the biggest thing. And it's funny because it's something that is so important, right? But how do you have you ever experienced fear or doubt, or how have you worked through that?
All the time. But You know what it is? Tim and I communicate a lot and we check in a lot. And so when I'm feeling something like that, I talk to him and usually he talks to me about stuff like that too. I say usually because he's very much an introvert. Mm-hmm. So unless I pull it out, sometimes I don't get it out. So I have to ask him. I was like, are you afraid of this? Are you doubtful of this? Fear and doubt. But then I just realized like I came from nothing. Like, what do I got to lose? Now even more, I think I struggle with it sometimes because I feel like I have so much more to lose now. The bigger we get, the harder you fall. And that's the scariest thing. But then you just realize like, nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. Like everybody's just trying to figure stuff out. And some people, do, and some people take a little longer. And that's totally fine. My thing is failure helps you win, right? You don't ever win Monopoly without losing a few times because you got to get good at it,
So what keeps you going, Kim? Like what's next? What are you working towards when it comes to Curlmix?
I am that article you wrote. I'm working on that $10 million. I was like, oh God, should I let her put that in the title? It's just, but then I did my numbers. I was like, oh, we should make more than that. Like, of course, Kim, stop tripping, I'm trying to hit those goals. And then truly build a happy team. So because we're growing so fast, it's so important to me that my team is happy and that they like where they work and that they feel motivated and self-motivated. They want to perform for the business. So just making sure they're happy, my team, and hitting those goals.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kim. This has been such a pleasure. Can you tell our dream drivers where they can find out about you or Curlmix if they want to buy your products, connect with you online?
Yes, you guys can check us out at curlmix.com. If you want to follow the brand, we're Curlmix on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. But if you want to follow me personally, my Instagram is Kim and Tim Lewis. And I pretty much just post my kid.
He's so cute, y'all. Y'all have to definitely follow. I love following you. So let's get to our lightning round, Kim. So this part of the interview, I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to just tell me the first word that comes to mind. And we're sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So the first word is park.
Oh, drive.
Reverse.
Learning from your mistakes.
Neutral.
Being present. A lot of times we are so focused on the future, or really stuck in the past that we don't just live in the moment. So I really try to put my phone down when I'm with my family or on my weekends, not constantly checking email because they're what really matters is people.
And then drive.
We're building $1 billion company.
Yep. Yes. Say that again. Say it again for the people in the back, girl.
Building $1 billion company.
To be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success, right? So what are 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their car before they hit the road? So
I have you need a number 1 and a number 2, right? I have Tim is my number 1. My first hire, she is my number 2. Basically, I defer to her. She's like my work wife online, which is so funny that I have a work wife and a real work husband. So I think you need your number 1 and your number 2. So that they're in my car. If I'm doing something for Curlmix, I'm bringing one of them. What else? Oh, this is tough. Things you have in your car. What's in my
toolkit? Anything in your toolkit, like a secret weapon.
Data.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, your Google Analytics, I have a data studio that's a custom Google dashboard for myself, reviewing what people are clicking on, just data. And then talking to your customer. That's my third thing. In my Curlmix car, I have my number 1 and my number 2. I have my data, so we know where we're going, right? So that's basically our map, right? And then I have my customers because we're only going where they want us to go, right? So they're going to tell us. That's what's in my Curlmix car.
Ooh, I like that. I was just thinking that would be a cool graphic, right? A little Curlmix branded car driving, and then you put in different things in it. Well, Kim, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you once again. And I really hope you guys check out Curlmix products. Make sure that you are just following Kim online because you learn so much, even just the things you post in your Instagram stories and just behind the scenes. I'm always like, oh, what? Oh, let me learn about this. Okay. So
can I share a coupon so you guys can
Definitely.
So the coupon will be Dreams and Drive.
All right. So that'd be 20% off a purchase?
Yes.
All right. So make sure you guys go and check out that flaxseed gel, right? That's your number one seller.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. So that's a wrap for episode 202 with Kim. I hope you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. Don't forget to use the code DREAMS and DRIVE to get 20% off your next Curlmix order. That's DREAMS and DRIVE to get 20% off your next Curlmix order. Also, if you guys love this episode, please share it with a friend. I count on you guys to share this episode, to screenshot it and put it on social media, Instagram stories, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Please just help us spread the dream driving community by you reaching out to someone that you think this message will resonate with. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on social media. You can find us at Dreams and Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please leave us a review and a rating. Those are really helpful in helping us reach more people on the platforms. Show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com. And next week, if you want to know, you're going to be hearing from Ben Haggerty, who's one of Beyonce's videographers. He captured that opening moment that you see in the Beyonce Coachella performance on Homecoming, all that good stuff. And he's also the creator of the Black with No Cream Network. Super dope person, super dope interview, and I know you guys are going to love it. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat in episode 203. Bye, guys.